There we go.
And I also want to just mention really quick that we are expecting a special guest and would like to give her a little bit of time to talk too. So maybe 10 minutes or so, if possible. So let's try and keep things to the allotted time. So Heather, say 20 minutes, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to get to know everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit about. I was going to talk about community colleges and Northern Colorado as a region a little bit, considering this is the NOCO Global Chamber. And I wasn't really aware of the time frame or anything, so just chime in, cut me off or whatever we need to do.
So Heather, I might jump in just real quick and give you a little bit more of an introduction, just so everybody kind of knows kind of how you maybe fit in just a little bit. But and there's the special guest I was thinking of, Miss Joanne. So just for the rest of the group who doesn't obviously wouldn't have any context for these relationships, but one of the first times I had an opportunity to go overseas was because of a Rotary International program. What was it called? Like young professionals exchange or something like that. Global
study exchange. Yeah.
There you go. You ask three of us, you get three different answers. But anyway, there was a team of us that had an opportunity to go. Is myself, Heather, and Joanne, who is out in the DC area, who's joining us this evening. There was one other lady who was with us, and then we had kind of a I don't know if chaperone's the right word. I think he and I were on equally poor behavior, and the women had to take care of us more than him leading us around. But we had a chance to go to Finland. We spent 2, 3 maybe weeks up there, kind of in central Finland, going around doing these presentations, learning about life up there, learning about different subjects. And it was a phenomenal experience in the sense that you really got a chance to meet other people that and share a pretty personal period of time traveling with one another. That has been something that's stuck with me for a long time. And actually, it was during that exchange and during that time up there that I learned that I was accepted into grad school in Sweden, and literally that sent me on a decade-long kind of trip around the planet. I was just in DC a week or two ago and had the opportunity to see Joanne, and Heather luckily works down in the Loveland office, so I get to see her every so often, and it's been a really meaningful series of relationships in my life. So I wanted to invite Heather to this group because I quite like hearing what she's doing, and wanted Joanne to be able to join us as well. So this is a little bit of a mini reunion for that GSE program that we did in Rotary. So there, with that, I'll be quiet.
Good to see you, Joanne.
Yeah, you too, Heather.
All right, so I'll get us started. And basically, I'm just going to give some information about community colleges in general and how it really applies to the grand scheme of things, and NOCO as well. So I did want to start off with think to yourself, envision in your head, what does a college student look like? And maybe one or two of you could share just a couple words. What is that image in your head?
No idea.
Ajay, you
I'd say
absolutely
very
know.
diverse and a lot different than it was when I was on a college campus.
Absolutely, very diverse. And with COVID, as it has impacted everyone, it's been a catalyst to a lot of changes as well, which I'll kind of bring up a little bit later on too. So just a little bit about Ames Community College. Our mission is to build a stronger community. And I think all community colleges do just that. And so the mission is to provide education and training so that we're providing a qualified and skilled workforce for our local community. And so what that means is community colleges will never provide programming for jobs that aren't regional. Okay, so we really focus on where can our graduates get jobs from Denver up north. And not everyone realizes that sometimes. or it could be that they're moving on to a 4-year degree too, to move on to other jobs needing more than a 2-year degree or some in certificates. And so why community colleges? And why do they play such a critical role in our community and our economy? And a lot of that is really access to education. So Ames has an open door policy. We have a 1-page free application. There's no essays or assignments to get in, and there's no minimum GPA anymore. We do multiple measures of assessment is what we say, where we talk to each individual student and look at their background, their support systems for school, and help them guide them where they think they should start in their programming. And so you might find that interesting, that access is one of our most important things. And also interesting enough today, what we're seeing and why community colleges are, I think, going to play a huge role in the trends we're moving towards is, we have the gig economy, we have the Gen Zs who are now our students starting around 18 years old, who don't value the traditional college model any longer. And what we know with Northern Colorado is that the majority of jobs need some college. Not all jobs need a traditional 4-year degree. They need some form of education for the majority of jobs. And so what we're going to see and what people are predicting is that we're going to become lifelong learners. It's kind of uni for life, right? We're going to study a little, work a little, go back to school, study a little, work some more, maybe study, work at the same time. And it's just going to be this lifelong student. And so we really see the community college playing a critical role there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm not gonna mention the company, but it's a fairly large company in Northern Colorado. Worked with Ames a few years ago as we were moving a plant from California to Fort Collins, and Ames was critical in onboarding about 500 people to that facility. And it was just amazing, the curriculum that they were able to pull together in such a really short period of time in concert with the company. And I think that partnership was, I don't know that we could have gotten that in any other institution that was out there. And maybe you can comment a little bit on those kind of partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
I want
Absolutely.
to share too a little bit about my own experience, because that's sort of how my life has been. It's study and then work and then study and then work and study. And it's interesting because you don't know much about me, but I lived in China for 20 years and I have a bachelor's degree from China. And there's a real popular expression in Chinese. It's called 活到老学到老, which means live to an old age and study to an old age. And it's very much a part of their culture that people are very much about continually understanding the value of studying and learning. And I think that's really cool that you see America going in that direction.
Absolutely. And not only is it culturally probably shifting that way, but in a sense also with change, right? Automation, artificial intelligence, and as we've developed, we are seeing these changes where people are going to have to change their skill set as well and move, study, work, and learn new jobs. And part of the comment was from Ken with companies relocating. That is something we do work very closely with economic development, city government, especially with relocation of corporations. One of the main things they look at is what's the skilled workforce like? Who do we have for talent? If the talent's not there, what providers are there to provide training and education? And so we have we have over 200 degrees and programs and certificates to either provide global arts and science programming, certificates in trades and skills, career and technology education. But we also have non-credit programming, and we do that through corporate training and continuing education. And so corporate training is probably who worked with this company that Ken just mentioned, and they are set up to work with corporations specifically and provide just in time, on demand, specified training. And so it's not, it's not attached to a semester long, because most business and industry folks don't have the time to give their employees to take a semester long class, and they don't need the theory behind it. They might need just a practical skill. You never know. And so then we work with that company, and there's no application. They just sign their students up, whoever the company chooses, and they pay directly. But what's interesting too is many of these programs can be for credit, and Ames is willing to work with these corporations and say, hey, if your employees want some of this programming as credit, college credit too, because maybe they want to apply it to a degree later on. Upward mobility sometimes is still attached to degrees. We can work with them that way too. And that's just one example of many partnerships that we have, and why community colleges play a critical role, especially in economic development and the health of our region. And so we have programs with high schools. So every high school, Larimer and Weld, and I'm going to touch on Larimer and Weld in a second too. We either have programs in their schools, or they send their students to our campuses, where high school students can get college credit and high school credit at the same time. And there's some programs even set up where they can graduate either with a certificate or a degree by the time of graduating high school. So for those students who are so inclined to go after that, I certainly was not that kind of achiever in high school, but for the students who can manage that, they can have a 2-year associate's degree by the time they're graduating high school. But we also do it for career and tech ed programs. We have, for example, in Loveland at the Thompson Career Center, Ames is working with their high school students in computer science, advanced manufacturing, and construction trades and skills. And
I was a benefactor of being able to do some college courses while I was in high school. I was not necessarily due to my motivation, but the high school had kind of given me the choice of, well, you can either leave, or we're going to go ahead and send you home because we're tired of your behavior. And so I said, well, wait, what does that mean? They said, well, you can basically go to Front Range and take a semester of courses, and they paid for the whole thing. And it really was what I needed. I was doing nothing but causing trouble at high school. I had finished all the courses that I needed to graduate. I don't think I'm unique in that situation of like high school has a certain, well, my parents held me back. So I was late, or whatever that is, where they have the like choice to put you in if you go early or late. I guess they put me in late. And so I was kind of over it. I was over it, academically, socially, everything. I was tired of high school. And so then I just got myself into trouble. And luckily there was a community college that was kind of the outlet to be able to take advantage of that. But I think that's such an important thing. I think that kids mature at different speeds, and in high school, as in a lot of ways, as a holding tank, kind of doesn't make sense at a certain point. And so I think it's great that there's a community college option that can continue to engage them in education, and they can be benefactors of that. I think that's fantastic.
Your testimonial to, one of those stats of that these programs have proven to have kids be successful when maybe they wouldn't have been. So for most students who are in that situation and they are put in the program, they are being successful. And they just might need a different environment, a learning environment.
Good. I'm sure that's what I needed, was a different environment. I won't tell you what put me in that situation, but I'm sure that's what it was. So I appreciate the diplomacy there.
I know you, Jeff. I can already picture the story. But some of that environment is what is also unique to community colleges, is that our faculty are top notch. They're not required to research like four-year universities are. A lot of them do research, but they are not required to do it to keep their job. So they can focus on teaching and establishing those relationships with students. And many of the classes are small, where our average class size is 16. And so students are getting very much individualized attention and establishing relationships with their peers. So also those partnerships, back to partnerships. So we have the high school partnerships, we have the business and industry partnerships, but we also have partnerships with the four-year universities. And many community colleges are offering bachelor's degrees now. And these are because of very community oriented. So is whatever that degree is it just in demand so high that they're needed, and the universities around may not provide as quality instruction in that bachelor degree. So for example, Ames is now providing a Bachelor of Applied Science in Public Safety Administration. So this is for people who want to become officers in the police academy, fire science, all in the public safety industry. So this is officers and leaders going on to get their bachelor's degree. Front Range has a bachelor's in nursing. Ames, we don't have a bachelor's in nursing because UNC is right there and they're so well known for nursing. So we work very closely with UNC, and our students go back and forth seamlessly, almost doing 3 years at Ames, their fourth year at UNC, and they're getting their bachelor's degree. But another of that program is Ames to UNC. So again, we want our students to move in pathways to higher degrees if that's the job that they're going after. And so Ames to UNC is just another example of how community colleges work with partners. There's only one application for students. It's free. There's an advisor dedicated to them to help them move back and forth seamlessly. And all students, if they're on the Ames campus, can go to UNC for all services, clubs, anything that's available to a UNC student is available to the Ames student as well, if they're in that Ames to UNC program. So again, just several partnerships for all pathways, again, to be providing that pipeline for qualified skilled workers into the community and developing our regional economy.
So to look at this, kind of, I don't know, globally, but at least nationally, when so we've got nursing and we've got public safety and that sort of thing. So different communities across the country, across the, whoever has community colleges, they would pick different bachelor degrees depending on their specific needs, and kind of what are the trends in that area, as far as you know?
It is very regional. Colorado Mountain College, I believe, has a bachelor's degree in rec and tourism and hospitality because of what's needed there. So it's just very driven by geography and the community. Like I think it's Texas has underwater welding as a degree. So I'm just trying to give examples. So it's really very regional in what is in demand and what educational institutions and organizations are around and available to provide that. So
Heather, do you have any I don't know how much of this is like news and whatever else that we hear, but I think a lot about like international students that are coming over, and I always thought that was a great part of Northern Colorado, with Colorado State having an influx of students to bring a little bit of diversity to what's otherwise a very non-diverse experience in Northern Colorado. What are you seeing as far as trends with either minority populations that are here already domestically, or foreign students that are thinking about coming to the United States or to universities? Is community college an avenue in for them? Does it not work because it's not a 4-year, or kind of how does that play out, or what are you seeing with that? Some trends maybe of late.
So I'm not as fully aware of this right now, besides that with COVID and our previous president and some of his restrictions on entrance of students and travel, that it has been less so in the last 2-3 years. You know, at CSU is where I got my start into the whole international enjoyment and world. I was very involved with the international programs there. I did a master's there in teaching English as a second language and taught at their intensive English program. And so, you know, for many universities, that can be very income revenue generating program is international students. And so many universities have been lobbying and have suffered from some of these restrictions for students not being allowed in the country any longer or to return. Some of the foreign students were existing students, went home and now are not able to come back. Community colleges are definitely one way as a entry level for international students too, if those colleges have those programs, because of affordability for one. And so that is why many students can enter and afford it that way. Ames used to have a robust international program. In fact, they had an exchange program with a program in Thailand, and we used to have housing called the Thai House where the Thai students stayed. But that program has been sundown for many years. And I wouldn't say Ames has a strong international student program. However, for as you refer to minority populations and populations already existing in the community, Greeley is a great example of a very diverse community with Somali population, Rohingya population, and the Hispanic Latinx population. And as Janet mentioned at the very beginning, an image of a student, very diverse. And so that is something that is forefront, right, for community colleges, is serving our diverse student body and stakeholders. And how do we do that in programs to support them? Access, retention, and successful completion. And so I could maybe answer some specific questions, Jeff, but I could also go down a huge rabbit hole with that.
No, that was great. That's something that I kind of get excited about with the more and more time I spend out in Greeley, because my sister's out there, and you know, you're seeing a lot of like first gen students, and I really like that because it's first gen that are coming out of a minority population that's kind of ethnically different than Northern Colorado. And having been a first gen student myself, where I was the first in my family to go through college, you know, it's nice to see the baton being passed. It's fantastic. I want more of those types of stories, because I think that's a really important part of creating economic viability as we go forward. We have to have inclusiveness. And again, the community college was the pathway for me to what I chose to be a 4-year degree, and then beyond that. But it was because of those things, exactly things you said: accessibility, affordability. I knew from day one, if I wanted to go to college, I was going to be paying for it. Parents were encouraging me to go, but there wasn't a lot of money behind it. And community college proved to be that. So I get excited when I hear the first gen stories, and I know that the Ames campus in Greeley is a phenomenal gateway into that. And you know, then if you want to continue on to a 4-year or something, UNC being right there. So I think it's a really important thing to highlight in Northern Colorado.
Absolutely. Just as an example, our Hispanic Latinx population is about 35% now, and will continue to grow rapidly. And first gen is, you know, I would say community college's specialty. And that is where, you know, now we are looking at not only do we provide the academic and other support systems for the students, but also how to navigate the family. So if you're a first generation student, you're the first in your family. And so you're having to navigate relationships within the family as a student. And how do you continue getting support as a student? And when people aren't accustomed to what's needed to be a student.
Heather,
Heather,
Can I-
sorry,
can I-
can I interrupt really quick?
Todd, can I ask one question to Heather? It's a very,
Yeah, but let me, can you just hold it for a second, please? I want to get Jenny a chance to just talk to us really quickly. She's in the middle of something and I just was texting her and asked her if she was going to come. And so she's just jumping in for 5 minutes to say hello. And Jenny is, Jenny, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt your meeting. Hi, Todd. Thank you for having me. I'm Jenny Arndt. I just stepped out of a meeting, so I'm in a hallway. And I have to go back in about 5 minutes, but I am a state legislator and I represent West Fort Collins currently. My name is in the hat for mayor, but I was also Peace Corps. And then I lived in Mozambique for 6 years with our 3 young children. So that's sort of a tiny little bit about me. And I kind of I just want to thank you. And I hope that in the future I could join your group because it's super important. And just from the little snippet of discussion I just heard, the first gen students are super important. I heard even if they get full scholarships at Emory College in Atlanta, they still drop out really quickly. So there's a financial barrier, but there's that social barrier that I think you are just starting to address, which is super critical. And in order to be successful, I think there's just a cultural leap there. I could talk about that all day, but I wanted to thank you for including me, and I'm sorry that it's just a little hectic. But
So if you could give us just a quick rundown on, kind of the things that you're focused on as you're, running for mayor.
oh, sure. So just doing the work I do and then having the meetings I've had, I think housing is absolutely top priority, one of the top priorities in terms of attainable. Here comes someone down the hallway, so sorry. In terms of attainable, affordable, and then I kind of just labeled it my own, Jenny Arndt, like instant. So not a shelter, but instant housing, right? So you can't get on your feet unless you have housing. And I know that Housing Catalyst does a lot, but I was wondering if this, since it's such a value of Fort Collins, that we don't put it to the voters to get a dedicated income stream and we house everybody. So that's one thing I've been thinking a lot about. The other thing, of course, is our planning, our urban planning and zoning in a growing city. We have an ethic and value of open space, but I do think at some point we have to consider, are we going to trade some private space for private open space, backyard, for public open space? So in a growing city, I think we needed to get denser. We need to go up a little bit and in that way preserve the open space. And we have a dedicated open space funding stream. I think we need to spend it, right? So it's sitting there. I don't know how much money it is, but if we offered $9 million for the Hughes property, and whether that ballot initiative passes or not, we'll see. And then we'll have a couple decisions in front of us. Well, we have to follow what the voters said for sure. So there's that. And so then there's this ongoing question of the distribution of land and water, those finite resources in a growing population. That's, to me, really going to be one of the major issues that we need to face and decide as a community how we want to value that. So the Poudre River is obviously a value, and that impacts our private choices as well for the public good. That's just kind of a long-winded way of things I've been thinking about, and what I've been hearing reflected in my meetings so far. Does that help?
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Just wanted to add a few things before Todd, you go in. Jenny, I know from Satya's family, and I have seen you many times with our community of the Indian Association. You had been actively engaged. A couple of things I wanted to tell you. I don't know if you know, we have ag, food, biomaterial, and all sorts of a cluster we are creating in Northern Colorado. It's the biggest Northern Colorado Innovation Center. Somehow Fort Collins is not engaged on this. And yeah, and I'll tell you this because of various reasons. And second aspect, I'll say that, we had never seen helping the small business innovation and incubator in this town at all. Okay. And all this money and dollar went to the high pockets. So you have to take care of those where you have a student who is coming as incubator. I run one incubator called INOP Global in downtown. I have not got a single dollar for last 3 years, but somebody who is a very big, all the money goes to one place. So please redistribute the wealth. And
Isn't that funny? So exactly. So we have $700 million of stimulus, and if you're an economist on the call, you can't be a state stimulus bill because the feds can only do stimulus because they can print money. We can't. So it's kind of so it's not really accurate. But we do have $700 million in revenue that we were not expecting. So that's going to go out in one-time money. And I was just texting Ann with the Chamber of Commerce, and I put in for the governor to make a listening tour in Fort Collins in the next week or two in terms of how we get that money to small business. For real small business though, right? So that's that one-time funding from the state, and then there'll be the federal money that is actually stimulus. But I would love to talk further, and I'm sorry, I don't, just kind of stuck right now, but I really appreciate of Todd. Let me just give him a shout out, because not only did he write to me, he called me and we had a nice talk. So I think we have a fundamentally different viewpoint on some things that I think should be heard. And as chair of ag, ag in Colorado is a little bit under attack. And I don't think there's a full appreciation. I think it's, if I can say, a little bit privileged viewpoint that they're coming from, that says, all eggs have to be cage free and so on and so forth. I mean, I also love chickens, but I also know that humans need a good, clean source of protein. And if we have the continued income inequality that we're experiencing in the United States, and it keeps getting exacerbated, but yet we force people to buy $6 a dozen eggs by law, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have a bigger problem than, and I don't think there's that many people who have the viewpoint the people on this call have, and that appreciation for that. I just said that down. Today is Ag Day. I just said that at the well today, that, with all the good intentions, we are coming from a point of privilege, and we cannot we can't overlook the danger. It's not danger, but the faults the problems we could create unintentionally. That's my view.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate you coming out.
Well, thanks for the text. I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to, I hate to say this as a politician, if elected mayor, but if I am
After you're elected mayor, then we'll look forward to you coming back and getting involved.
I would love to be part of this group.
Thank you.
Thank you for including me.
Thank you.
Ajay, I think you had something for Heather. What were you thinking?
No, actually, okay. I was trying to ask the question.
Either you do or you don't. I don't. It's up to you.
No.
I cut you off. Sorry.
Yeah, because me and Todd and Jeff is all internationalized people. I don't know about Joanna. Okay, Joan or Joanna?
Joanne's, she's rather internationalized.
Yeah. So
she's part of the club.
She can hang.
Thank you. Welcome. So we have a lot of issues. All these, the Chinese student came into program in Colorado State University. Some of these golden handshake, I don't trust and I don't believe. I didn't believe even the biggest stadium where the money was, I was doing food system and hydroponics, which Ken does in his backyard. Just where the stadium lies, it was my experimental ground. I used to run Ag Innovation Lab at Colorado State as a faculty. I left because of many reasons. Academia should not be hampering the community, living and making as a business house. That's why I like a community college. So I mostly involved now in Wyoming and Nebraska and Kansas on community college, because I think the real, before any damage happen, you go to college, better go to community college and don't give them highest dollar and you get a little, very little. And I used to run, 2 hours of mentoring program for skill development and entrepreneurship and giving, job training initially student. Because the university, Colorado State, didn't have enough capacity to do this, because we used to do a program, because if you don't take this program, you are not going to be a graduate. Isn't it sound very familiar to everyone? And you put money again for another semester. There was no hands-on experience. There was not project-based learning. There was nothing called where the future of the job will go, what you are supposed to do. Mentoring was there, advisors were there, but nobody knows. That's why I said no idea. When you ask about, what the college kid, I said, yes, most of the college kids come into the classroom, they have no idea. And as an academician, as a people who work in entrepreneurship world, we wanted to carve out in the right shape that they are ready for going into the marketplace where they are being, getting the job as well as going to the entrepreneurship side. We don't tease that. Of course, the community college does those professional courses, which I like the very most, and I just was involved in Wyoming, Eastern Wyoming College. I created their Ag Entrepreneurship Center, 25,000 square feet area now, and they are going to have a big cluster around that. And same we expect from community college as well as UNC to work together and create this cluster in Northern Colorado as Innovation Center, where a student can study at the same time connected with the companies to work as an intern, and then finally get a job or start their own company. That kind of a roadmap to be developed at every community college. That's what this is my suggestion and comment. But how do you do international enrollment? What is the plan?
I don't know. For Ames, I don't know the answer anymore because that has changed a lot.
Okay.
At Ames and nationally. So I can find out for you and get back to you with those details. And then I couldn't help but think with Joanne's former master's degree that you and she could have a long conversation on global sustainable entrepreneurial programs. It's fascinating too. I'm on the Loveland Chamber Board, and we were just having a legislative update. So the ag bills that are being pushed forward at the state are very interesting right now. And then there's also great initiatives with NOCO Ready, which is Northern Colorado Regional Economic Development Initiatives, in developing additional clusters there food distribution, again, I think it's leaning towards the bigger companies that you had mentioned, not the small, but are definitely getting attention. So we have a lot of initiatives on all sides going on right now around that.
Hey, Heather, just to kind of localize things a little bit more, but you want to talk a little bit about the trajectory of actually having established that campus in downtown Loveland? I mean, having taking a little bit of a flyer myself and buying property down there, and having been a Fort Collins guy, I always had kind of the chip on my shoulder about Loveland, et cetera, et cetera. And I think everything that you guys have done downtown has really been quite positive. So you want to just talk a little bit about that trajectory and the ramp up, and I don't know, even your new facade and things that look great?
Sure, absolutely. You know, what's interesting is that the campus has been there for 33 years. It was first opened up as a joint campus where Artworks is now, and Regis and Ames shared that facility. But then the McKee Foundation donated the building we're in now to Ames because they really wanted especially that continuing education and corporate training was heavy in Loveland. The programs Ken talked about with the business and industry, and they really valued what Ames was doing and wanted Ames there. And so we, again, work closely with Thompson School District, also Front Range, CSU, UNC, Berthoud, Northern Longmont, and the surrounding areas, Johnstown, Milliken, Windsor, to provide, again, that start to people's either jobs, careers, or four-year institutions. We are always working with the local economic developers and business industry workforce centers to realize what is needed for education and training. So at our Loveland campus, we have Associate of Arts and Science degree. So that's for people who want to go on to the four-year universities and complete their degrees, a business transfer degree, guaranteed business transfer degree. But what we're seeing too, again, is that the rise for the need of computer science, right? Robotics, automation, and manufacturing. And so we're trying to provide more certificates in the computer science areas for credit and not for credit. And really see where can we provide programming. So in the non-credit, for example, we've been putting out some courses around big data just to see if they're going to fly. Are people going to take the classes? And so far not. They're not taking the classes. So, then we take a step back and look, are we targeting the right population? Is it not something people are going to take for non-credit, one course here or there? Is it really a master's degree, right? In something around big data. So we are constantly looking at the future and what can we provide. And for Loveland, my campus specifically is very limited in space. So we love working with the downtown businesses and being a part of the downtown and showing that we embrace Loveland. And we're also starting to provide, in the future, we're looking at providing nights and weekend courses at the Thompson Career Center. We also have our Loveland Flight Center at the Northern Colorado Regional Airport for our aviation program. Soon we'll be starting our drone pilot program as well. And there's also air traffic control. So again, it just really, when it comes to the trajectory, it really depends on where is the growth in business and industry growing and what can we do, what's needed for education and training.
I think having, a connection back to downtown, I think there's two things that downtown Loveland has to have if it's going to have a future and be, relevant, is that there needs to be density and there needs to be youth. Downtown Loveland is old, both in demographic that's down there and a little bit in actual infrastructure. And then there's also kind of a lack of density, and density is a different issue. I understand that, but just more and more people being downtown. When you're downtown Fort Collins on a Tuesday at 2 p.m, things feel vibrant. That used to not be the case in downtown Loveland. I love it now. If I go for an afternoon coffee or something, go to the coffee tree, I see, younger people that are sitting there with English 101 books or lit comp or English comp or whatever it is, that are sitting there kind of doing their work. They leave the coffee shop and they take a left and they're headed to your campus. So I can't say enough good things about, I think, the impact of having you guys downtown, the effects of that on downtown Loveland. And I would hope that some of our politicians that are down there on council would feel that same way. And anyway.
Well, and
so,
there are,
yeah.
I agree that, so I'm part of the Loveland Downtown Partnership, which has helped get the Downtown Development Authority up and running. And they are working on density and bringing down more employees as well. And there are some great projects coming down the pike to increase for business industry and residential and density, connectivity, accessibility, walkability. So Jeff, the facade, for example, with the Ames, a lot of businesses are applying for facade improvement programs, realizing that the renovations, the infrastructure is needed too, to bring some of that newness down there that will also attract a younger crowd. It is fun. I think downtown Loveland is a great place to observe and participate in, and I love it. This summer with the Foundry and their music programming, the One Sweet Summer program that's going to go on is going to be great. And so there are development projects for Heartland Corner, which is that corner where the Heartland Cafe used to be. Perhaps the Elks Building. There's another development project where the Banner Health Building used to be. So a lot of new things will be coming.
Heather, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the sorts of classes or training, business training that you have that might be global or international.
So within we have a marketing management program, business program. And then when you are in any of the programs, they're going to address content globally, but we don't have any designated degrees or certificates around global topic.
Well, okay, but that being said, sorry, not to tell you about your own institution, but when I was looking at, because at one point I thought, okay, I needed a different UN language. I wanted to do some work in West Africa. I wanted to work on French. So the first place I looked was not CSU. I looked at Front Range and Ames, and had you guys had a French course downtown that would have worked for my kind of walkable lifestyle, I would have taken it. I ended up not taking it, and for a host of other reasons, but the language offering that you have is significant across the Ames
languages
universe.
Yes, languages. Sorry, I thought you were asking about other programs, not language.
Well, I was talking more like business and negotiations, yeah, international business relations, stuff like that. But I'm surprised to hear that you guys offer languages. Well, if you're ever looking for a Mandarin teacher, just let me know. I'm like the best in this side of the state.
Okay, absolutely. We are, definitely.
Seriously?
I'm serious, always.
Oh, okay, well, we'll keep in touch because that's definitely my forte.
So, now you have me thinking. And also related, just one other piece with downtown Loveland, again, you tie into what the community's richness is, and so art in Loveland, right? So we're always trying to support the art community with programming there, whether it's studio art classes or business for the art entrepreneur, marketing for the artist, graphic design, and how things are definitely becoming digital, and so animation programs. There's exciting programs that we support in Loveland.
Awesome.
And I know I didn't really touch on the global part as much, even though I have that history, but
We have to have you back.
Yeah, maybe a different topic. Community colleges are, again, to be regional and more local. They do have a strong international component, but I think we do lack there in Northern Colorado at the community college level for the global perspective.
Well, we got Terry looking at his Colorado Rand McNally there. So Terry is probably feeling like, where are all of these town names? I don't know. And then Joanne, at least you have the relationship of having having, there you go, having spent time with Jeff and
Well, Joanne has a deep
Otherwise,
background
we're
in
all
northern
local
Colorado,
right here.
actually.
What's that?
Joanne has
Joanne's
a deep
local.
background in northern Colorado.
Oh,
In fact,
okay.
Ajay and Joanne, you would have been at CSU at the same time. You would have overlapped when you were doing your grad studies there.
Yeah, I lived in Fort Collins for 10 years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know because, you know, I was a co-founder of GSSC program.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
launched
know
that. Yeah, entire GSSC, me and Paul Hudnut brought this together, the program, because
you did?
we wanted to do the international, you know, program at Colorado State and making sure that we have international venture. And I'll tell you, in community college, we are talking to, what is your president name? Frankenstein or something? What is that?
That's UNC.
Okay, whatever.
But no, our president's Dr. Bornstein.
Borenstein.
Leah
Yes, okay.
Bornstein.
So we are talking right now that create the campus, because there is a lot of companies is coming, global companies are coming in this territory. A lot of people, they don't know. We are bringing, I am bringing one company from India. They are coming to Fort Collins, okay? They will have 50 employees, okay? And so the first stage will be 10 employees, then 20. And I know the Kane is a pretty much, I will connect with this. This is a virtual reality company, which is going to work in the manufacturing industry. And this is because, you know, INOP Global, as I was going with the governor to India and Nepal for trade and investment trip, we brought a lot of the companies. So they're on the queue, one after another. Because of the COVID, everybody is stopped. So you must teach in your community college international business culture, because these guys, they don't understand. And they were saying that we might attract a lot of international students because they will adapt much faster and quicker. I don't know what they mean, but they think that it is better to get those kind of a cohort. And I said, where you will find? So start something like this kind of a courses and program, and put an international perspective, because in Thorington, in Eastern Wyoming, they are asking me to make an international recruitment support for them. And I did the first batch, including Kate, who is the director now. That cohort of GSSC, I was the recruiter for the entire GSSC that time, to make sure that this program will take off. Because the problem was whether we will get enough 20 kids in the classroom. And so this initial is a very, very, problematic, but then it's a full swing.
I will talk to Dr. Bornstein, mentioned I talked with you and reinforced that idea, because I couldn't agree more. And as I've looked at some of your bios, I know we all know the nuances of working with international companies and students and the cultural intricacies.
That's right. Yeah. And we teach also a class, just for your knowledge. We teach an entrepreneurial education class. It's a global class, virtual. We teach a 2-week boot camp. It's basically a mini MBA in 2 months. And I think Jeff was there in one of this presentation, and Kane was also. So we look forward to see that community college also take some of the lead.
Heather, I want to say thanks a ton for joining us. I know I gave you virtually no context, which is typically how I like to go about things. So I appreciate you joining and trusting in the group to make you feel welcomed. And I love having you downtown. I love getting to see you, and I look forward to kind of post-COVID times, and we'll get a coffee or something in person, which will be even better than on Zoom. So I want to say thank you very much for joining us. And at the same time, Joanne, expect an invitation here at some point to talk about your story of how to escape Northern Colorado. We'll say, how do you have an experience here for a decade and then go somewhere else? We'll tee you up at some point too.
Yeah.
Well, I have to thank Heather, who helped me when I was transitioning out of school and into relocating to the East Coast. I was kind of a desperate graduate calling on all my friends for help sleep on their couches, and Heather was one of those people who helped me. Here I am today. So
There you go.
And I
Well,
wouldn't have recognized you. Jeff warned me about.
She snuck right up to the table at breakfast, but that's a whole nother story I'll have to tell you about.
Sorry, Todd, go ahead.
No problem. So yeah, thank you very much. And I also would like to extend an invitation for Ames and Loveland to join the Global Chamber, Northern Colorado Global Chamber. So maybe you could speak with your board or whoever it is. You know, it'd be
Peeps.
great to have you guys as a representative with us. And that might help you
Absolutely.
to build that global perspective too. because
Right.
That's what we're all about. We have a lot of global background and experience right here in just this group alone that it could be very valuable in having people come in and talk and give presentations, teach Mandarin, whatever, teach Hindi. We've got them all here. And then we've got Terry in you could have virtual French lessons.
French lesson. I was about to tell how basically very interesting your presentation. But in Utah, we have also equivalent of your college. Bessel Brook is our dean of the Salt Lake Community College, and she's part of the Global Chamber. So perhaps you should speak. She's managing 16 campus in the Wasatch Front. This is a Salt Lake Community College. Bess Holbrook. Bess Holbrook is our dean, and she's part of the Global Chamber. So perhaps you should ask for advice from Bess. She's very experienced with international programs. It's huge. The Salt Lake Community College is huge. We even have this book of how you create a business startup in 14 lessons. Voilà. So I recommend basically the summary of whatever you need. It's a mini MBA to create a startup, from business plan to how to look for a finance guy to do a pitch. Voilà. This is what you can find in our Salt Lake Community College. We have the same with the Westminster College, which is next door to the house.
Terry, can you maybe send Jeff the dean's contact information, or get my contact information and put me in touch with your dean? That'd be great.
Well, I will find.
You can send it to me if you don't have Jeff's email address.
Perfect. Voila.
In Santiago.
Voila.
Voila.
Yeah, I have your address, Terry. I can email you, but you should have mine because I send you the notification of the upcoming event. So you should just respond to that, and then I'll get it.
I'm pretty much, for information, I do a lot of things. It's so big. So look at my LinkedIn, from cinema to startup entrepreneur. But I follow a lot of groups in the Utah where we teach how to create startups. We have a group called ELP now. Everything from business plan to call us first before investing your own money, before doing a disaster. Voilà. So we have a huge group of people to help you create your startup. And we've failed a lot. Myself, I failed 16 times. So,
Great. Okay.
Perfect.
but if you are pretty much Intermountain West, basically, I follow Utah and all the neighboring states. So that's why you see me in Denver. So voilà. So next time I go to Denver, we go to see you over there and discover. Sorry, your friend of Denver's. They have a very good cakes.
1 hour north. Bring your map. It's easy to find. Straight north.
Got your Rand McNally there.
All right. Todd or Ken, you guys want to close this out?
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have got something else coming up. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate
Thanks, Heather.
you joining us.
You're welcome.
And we'll all keep in touch. And then for anybody who's interested, you'll be getting an invitation for the next one in 2 weeks. And I think we're going to be having somebody talking about Japanese culture and doing business in Japan.
Great.
Perfect.
There you go.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Heather,
Nice to
thank
see
you so
Joe.
much,
Have a
Heather.
nice evening.
Nice
Bye.
meeting you, Heather, and John.